everyone, I'm Luke Hector and you're watching The Broken Meeple. This is a YouTube channel about board games where I give reviews, top 10s and my honest opinions, regardless of the consequences.
Get on with it.
So on this trend of quick, easy to play, light games, we've got a somewhat interesting one here. I've had this for a while and I just haven't got round to reviewing it. This is called The Number from Hisashi Hayashi. I hope I haven't butchered that name, but this is a designer name you're probably not going to recognize because he's only done about 2 or 3 other games as far to my knowledge like that are well known in this market, but he's more of a prolific designer over in Japan. However, some people might recognize that game from a certain deck builder called Trains. Yes, he designed that game, and not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of that deck builder. I mean, I like it okay, but I'd rather play Dominion. All the stuff to do with the train map and that I hate. So that one didn't exactly sing to me. But I do like these quirky little Japanese games that come out that we bring over here because they tend to be quite quirky, really clever. You know, there's little ones like a Kobaya Cower, tiny little, kind of like a tiny little, I don't know if I can call it trick-taking game. It's like a tiny little bidding game that's, again, Japanese, small box, really quirky, and that's quite a nice little thing. But this one, I read the rules to this and I thought, where's the game? I actually first thought that this was going to be an absolute bomb. Like, there is nothing here. To kind of give you some context, The Number, which certainly makes it interesting to search for on Board Game Geek, is essentially kind of like a bluffing gambling game in a sense. Everybody has got a pad like this with digit numbers on it and a little dry erase board that they can write numbers on. The way it works is that everybody has got this effectively in front of them and they have 5 turns every round. You play 2 rounds, add up the scores from both rounds, most total wins. But during a turn for each round, players will decide to write down secretly a 3-digit number. So I could write down 134 here, for example, which I've done so. And they do it in secret. And then they're flipped face up. They're arranged in ascending order, descending order, so the highest at the top and then like lower ones below it. And then what happens is your number is approved if no number below you shares a digit with the number you wrote. And if your number gets approved, you write the first digit of your number as your score in the first turn box. But if you are the highest approved number, you also score the bonus above each particular turn. And this bonus goes up and up as the round goes on. The catch is that if you have an improved number, then you have to cross off the digits on here so that you cannot use those digits for the rest of the round. So if I got away with 134, I'd only write 1 point in the box. So I don't score very much. And then I've got to cross off 1, 3, and 4 to say that I can't use those numbers again. But you will score points at the end of the round for how many you've crossed off, so there is a little bit of incentive to do so. This may sound like the weirdest game ever, and believe me, when I read the rules to this, I was like, where's the game? Oh my god, is this going to be like The Mind and The Game? Those 2 games that I cannot stand. You know, I mean, I do like some games that use no communication and kind of getting in people's heads. You know, I mean, I generally like games where you get in your opponent's head. But, you know, whereas something like The Crew is fantastic, something like The Mind is garbage. You know, one actually has you making educated choices, the other one is just straight up guessing. You know, so I was like, please don't let this be another clone of The Mind, I will go nuts. Thankfully, it actually turned out to be an interesting little game, because the way it works is that when you start off the round, it is mostly a bit of a crapshoot. You know, you just write down whatever number you feel like. But as the round goes on and you can see publicly which numbers people can use, you start trying to gamble and bluff your way into writing certain numbers that you think you'll get away with. I mean, you might think, well, why don't I just write 999, 999? Well, that's great. But then if anybody below you, who's going to be pretty much everybody else at the table, writes a single 9, you're not going to get away with it, even though you would get 9 points for doing so. But then if you're gonna, you know, if you think you're gonna write a number that people are gonna have above you, like for example, let's say I might go, you know, let's say my next one, okay, I'll just take 444. Okay, so I'm only using 1 digit, but I'm hoping to catch people out. And I want to catch people out above me, and I can see that a lot of people have got high digit numbers left. So you know what? I think I'm gonna write 489. So I think that, yeah, I'll still end up somewhere in the middle, probably be approved, but then anybody above me who's trying to get away with like 800 and something or 900 and something, I'll catch them out, they won't get any points, and then I'll be the highest number. There's weird little quirks like that you're thinking about on your turn that is very difficult to get across when you're explaining the rules to the game. But what tends to happen is people play this and then after a couple of turns it clicks. Oh yeah, this is kind of what it's doing. This is what it is. And I had the same realization. I was like, let's just try this, guys. I know it sounds weird. I'm a little bit dubious myself, but let's try it. And it took us a little bit longer, maybe about the third or fourth turn of the first round. And as the options started dwindling, and as soon as I realized, wait a minute, I'm making choices based on what the other players are doing, and I'm bluffing slightly, I'm goading you into thinking that I'm going to write a high 900 number, maybe I won't, maybe I will. As soon as that started appearing, I realized, there's the game. There's the game that I was expecting. And the rules to this are not complicated. The production quality is fine. I mean, you've got some dry erase pens with rubbers and you've got a couple of boards each. And that's pretty much all you've got in the back. So it's cheap and it's cheerful. And the rules are not complicated. You've even got a rules video and a QR code. Although I've come across some QR codes that don't work on some of these, but to be honest, I don't think you really need the QR code. I mean, this is all the rulebook is, and it's got pictorial representation for everything in the book, so you should have no reason to get a rule wrong in this. It's a very clear, concise set of rules. But that's kind of pretty much it. It plays from 3 to 5 players. It says 15 minutes on the back. 15's doable, but I think with people doing thinking of that, you're probably talking upwards to 30 minutes. But this is still effectively a filler. You know, you could do this in less than 30 minutes if people know what they're doing and don't take ages to think about their numbers. And it's 5 turns, score up, 5 turns, rinse, repeat. So you could feasibly get this done in about a 20-minute scenario. But I was genuinely impressed with this. I liked it more than I thought it was going to. Now, that doesn't mean I think it's mind-blowing and amazing. You know, there is an element of guesswork in this because there's only so much you can deduce from other players. And I'd say it's kind of group-dependent. Like, if people try to game this system out, they're probably not going to get as much enjoyment out of it because they'll be trying too hard to turn it into a Euro game in a sense. But I think if you go in this with a bit of a light-hearted feel, a little bit of that nice little bluffing aspect and getting into people's heads, which I like to do, these are the type of games I like, I think you will see that this little bluffing and gambling game, as it actually quotes on the book I've just noticed, bluffing and gambling game, will actually surprise you and surprise a lot of other people. Certainly not for everybody. I think I just might have been a target audience for it. I think I just found it quirky and interesting enough to want to like it. And like I say, I'll hang on to this because it's a really easy filler to get to the table. And it's interesting to see people's reactions with this one. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 overall. It's a good game, not going to blow the doors off. And certainly there are some people who are not going to like this, you know, as I've seen on the internet already. But I think give this one a try and just go in with an open mind. You'd be surprised at how some of these Japanese quirky games can bring something that you've not seen before. Maybe you'll play it and you'll hate it. You know, let's face it, there are most Euro games I will play and still hate. But I'd like to see people's reactions to this, you know. Not like, don't comment as to like, oh, does this look interesting or not. I'm curious about who's actually played this. I'd like to get some of your feedback down in the comments to see what you think of it, whether good or bad from your actual practical experience. Cheap little filler, give it a shot. So that's it for me on this episode of the Board Game Meeple. If you like what you see, then please thumb it up here, but also thumb it up on YouTube. Oh, sorry, not YouTube, Board Game Geek, when I put the review on the actual page. Of course, check out the other content that I've done recently, all those multitude of reviews I've done from Marvel Dagger to small stuff like Moon. And of course, let your comments down below, as I mentioned before. Until next time, remember, regardless of what number you like to write on your little board, it's still only a game. Bye for now.